The leasing agent's polished nails tapped against the granite countertop as she slid the keys across. Apartment 212, quietest unit in the building, end of the hall, only shares one wall. The movers left at 6:47 p.m., their heavy boots echoing in the marble lobby, as I arranged my grandmother's china in the glass front cabinets. First night, first real silence, until 11:23 p.m. exactly. A murmur, not through the hallway door, but the left wall, the supposedly vacant 213 side. Not loud enough for words, just the cadence of conversation. The rise and fall of voices, like a radio left on, 2 rooms away. I pressed my ear to the wallpaper, that awful floral pattern, every bloom suddenly looking like open mouths, and heard a woman's laugh, cut short glass clinking like a toast, the creak of what might have been a rocking chair. Morning light showed the truth. Dust undisturbed on 213's doorknob, the super's master key turning stiffly in a lock that hadn't been oiled in years. The apartment stood frozen in 1978 decor. Orange shag carpet, yellowing newspapers, a thin layer of plaster dust over everything. No footprints but mine and the super's, leading straight from the doorway to where I stood. Yet the wall we shared, that should have been solid brick, thrummed faintly with that same distant murmur. The super crossed himself before telling me, in a voice gone flat, Mrs. Delaney died here, Christmas Eve '78, waiting up for guests who never came. The pattern emerged slowly, like blood seeping through bandages. Sunday nights, silent. Monday be undisturbed, but every Tuesday, like clockwork. 17 a.m. on the dot. First came the footsteps, not the normal creak of floorboards, but the deliberate click-click of hard heels on parquet, circling what must have been the apartment's living room. Then the whispers, never loud enough to make out words, just that rhythmic cadence of 2 people engaged in urgent conversation. I documented everything. 29 a.m. First audible sob, female mid-range pitch. 45 a.m. Glass breaking sound, single, sharp. 3:15 a.m. Distinct dragging noise, 7 seconds duration. My notebook filled with temperature drops, verified by thermostat. Vibration patterns, phone seismometer app, even EMF readings, all spiking during those minute windows. That final Friday, 28 a.m. I pressed my left ear against the peeling paint of 213's doorframe. The whispering stopped, mid-sentence. Then came the knock. Not from inside the apartment, but from within the wall itself. 3 precise impacts, each stronger than the last, vibrating through my skull. Knock. Hollow, like rapping on drywall. Knock. Deeper, as if from a heavier object. Boom. Something massive throwing its weight. The security guard, a 20-year veteran named Ruiz, arrived within 4 minutes, flashlight beam trembling as he checked his master key log. Last entry to 213 was November 12, 2014, pipes inspection. See here? His scanner showed no heat signatures, no movement, just an ice-cold spot, exactly where the knocking had originated. Yet when we stepped back, his radio suddenly blared. 3 bursts of static, in that same exact rhythm. The security team's flashlights cut trembling paths through the dust-choked air. As we stepped into 213, Ruiz's gasp echoed first. Then the younger guards, sharp intake of breath, as light revealed the walls, every square inch, from baseboard to crown molding, covered in yellowing photographs, arranged in perfect grid formation. Black and white shots nearest the door, women in pillbox hats, men in narrow ties, all posed in the building's lobby, their eyes excised, with surgical precision. Moving inward, the decades progressed. Polyester Daurin 80s shoulder pads, 80s grunge, each portrait mutilated in the same way. The forensic details chilled. Razor. Cuts showed no hesitation marks, photos mounted with archival glue. Newest images still smelled of developer chemicals. Then we reached the current decade's wall. My building ID photo taken just 3 weeks prior, already yellowed at the edges, as if aged decades. The razor work on my own face matched the others exactly, down to the tiny upward flick at the outer corners. Ruiz's radio crackled as we discovered the centerpiece, a massive collage of every scratched photo, forming one enormous unblinking eye. The pupil, a mirror, reflecting our own horror-struck faces back at us, and in its surface, if you looked closely, faint movement, like something pressing against the glass from behind. The official police file, obtained through a records request, listed the incident as case number 983471, suicide, non-suspicious, but the supplemental notes, buried in faded typewriter font, revealed disturbing details. Victim was Daniel Greer, 58, occupation building staff photographer since 1968. Personal effects included 47 rolls of undeveloped film darkroom equipment found in apartment closet. The super's work order log showed the exact timeline: April 17, 1998, 11:47 a.m. window replacement, apt 2113, April 18, 1998, 9:03 a.m. seal door frame, apt 2113, April 19, 1998, 3:30 p.m. change locks, master key system. No further entries for 23 years until last Wednesday. The photograph appeared, slipped beneath my door while I showered at 7:15 p.m. Modern glossy finish. Chemical smell still present. Time stamped in the border, 3:17 m. 10/23/2023. The composition matched Greer's known style, high-angle shot from bedroom, corner-long exposure capturing motion blur signature, slight overexposure, but the truly disturbing elements. My sleeping form perfectly centered, bedside clock clearly visible, 3:17 a.m., my eyes wide open in the image. Though I know I was asleep, the NYPD forensics report delivered this morning contained 2 findings. The photo paper was manufactured in 1996. Only one set of fingerprints found matches, Daniel Greer's, from department records. Now I keep finding fresh film canisters in my mailbox, each containing one more exposure, each timestamp advancing closer to that fateful hour. The hiring process had been exhaustive, meticulous, the kind of vetting that would make a Secret Service detail nod in approval. We'd used CareCheck Premium, the $49.99 background service that promised military-grade verification. Her digital footprint was spotless. 98 average rating across 3 platforms, 127 consecutive 5-star reviews, Trusted Plus badge on sitsafe.com. The trial run was textbook perfect. At 3:17 p.m., we watched through the Nest Cam as she correctly administered Liam's inhaler, though we'd never mentioned his asthma. Knew exactly which chapter Emma was reading in her school book, prepared my husband's favorite sandwich, right down to the dill pickles on the side. Her mannerisms were unsettlingly precise, blinks exactly every 4.2 seconds. We timed them later. Never clears her throat, smiles showing exactly 8 upper teeth. The children took to her instantly, too instantly. Emma, usually shy with strangers, was coloring with her within 7 minutes. Liam, our never-sit-still toddler, fell asleep in her lap at 7:03 p.m. sharp. Her references checked out. At first, the Johnsons on Maple Drive. Best sitter we've ever had. The Parkers from St. Luke's preschool. Our twins still ask for her, but the addresses, when we drove past them later. 1 Maple Drive was a vacant lot. St. Luke's had no record of any Parkers. The final red flag came at 9:47 p.m. when we reviewed the camera footage. In every reflection, every shiny surface, Clara's eyes didn't reflect light. Just 2 dark voids where retinal glint should be. The police found nothing. No records, no traces, just 3 fingerprints. That came back as belonging to a Clara Browning, who died in 1987 at age 19. in this very house. It began with small things, the kind you could almost dismiss. If they weren't all adding up, every night at 3:17 a.m., Jake would wake up screaming, his tiny hands ice cold, clutching my arm with unnatural strength. The lady in the basement, she watches through the cracks in the stairs. Our sweet 3-year-old Mia stopped playing in the playroom. The exact same day her favorite doll was found sitting in the tiny chair, its head twisted 180 degrees, plastic eyes gouged out. We made excuses, childhood nightmares, overactive imagination, just a phase, until that Tuesday, when I came home at 4:03 p.m. to find the house darker than a moonless night, every light switch, every bulb, dead, even the oven's digital clock, that always glows green, was blank. The silence was thick, the kind that makes your ears ring. Then came the whispering. Rising from the basement, seeping through the floorboards, a voice I recognized but couldn't understand. Clara's, but not Clara's perfect Portuguese, not her polite phrases. This was deeper, guttural, full of sounds humans shouldn't be able to make, and the children, sitting on the middle step, backs to me, utterly motionless, Jake's shoulders hunched as if holding, his breath, Mia's tiny hands covering her ears, rocking back and forth in a hypnotic rhythm. The basement door, that always creaks, stood slightly ajar. Inside, absolute darkness, and that smell of damp earth, and something else, something metallic that clung to the back of my throat. When I flicked the lights on, the children blinked, like waking from a trance. "It's nothing, Mommy," Jake said, with a smile that never reached his eyes, and on the floor, in the dust, a single footprint, adult-sized, leading toward the basement, but none coming back. The playback began normally enough, sunlight streaming through the windows, Jake building Legos on the rug, Mia coloring at the kitchen table. Then at 3:28 p.m. precisely, Clara would rise from the couch with that unnatural fluidity, like a marionette pulled upright. The timestamp blinked 3:29 as she walked to each child, placing one pale hand on their small shoulders. With deliberate pressure, no words spoken, just that silent command. And both children stood, their movements sluggish, as if half asleep. PM on the dot. She led them toward the basement. Jake first, then Mia, their little feet dragging, leaving scuff marks. We'd find later in the carpet. Her lips moved constantly, forming words that made the children's eyes glaze over. But the audio feed showed nothing but static, that harsh white noise, like a detuned radio. The camera caught it all, Clara's mouth forming shapes, too wide for human speech, the children's vacant stares. Fixed straight ahead, the basement door opening, without her touching the knob but the impossible part. The part that made the technician cross himself was the timeline. Our phones showed we'd been gone 47 minutes that first day, but the footage timestamps displayed 3 hours, 6 minutes, and 9 seconds of continuous recording, the same exact duration, every single day. The police forensic team found no evidence of tampering, no gaps in the footage, no signs of editing, just 3 hours of our children disappearing into that darkness with something that looked like Clara but wasn't, and the final frame, always the same. The basement door closing at exactly 6:47:09 p.m. with no one coming back out. The customer service rep's voice crackled through the phone speaker, too calm, too practiced, as she repeated the words. "No babysitter matching that description has ever been associated with your account." Her email arrived at 2:17 p.m. with attached login records. Neat rows of timestamps, showing only our devices, our IP addresses, our fingerprints on the app. No Clara, no scheduled bookings, no record of payments. The detective's notepad, page after page of dead ends, no forced entry marks on doors, no fingerprints, But ours no neighbor sightings a security company technician, a man with grease under his nails, and 20 years experience swore the system logs showed no deletions, no tampering, just empty files where footage should be, like missing teeth in a perfect smile. But I remember the way the camera timestamp flickered at 3:30 p.m. sharp, the unnatural smoothness of Clara's hand on the basement doorknob, the children's faces, blank as store mannequins. Now, when the HVAC shuts off at night, the silence doesn't last. It starts as a hiss, barely audible, beneath the floorboards, then builds to that sound, that awful familiar static, like 1,000 insect wings vibrating through the vents. The baby monitor, the one we keep unplugged, sometimes lights up with that same green glow. It had when Clara used to whisper to them, and if you press your ear to the basement door, you can hear it, just beneath the static. The scrape of small shoes on concrete steps, going down, always down, never coming back up. The air in my living room hung still, too still, the way it does in empty houses when you're the first one home. My keys clattered on the counter, the sound too loud, in the unnatural quiet. That's when I saw it. My blanket, the soft blue one Grandma knitted, folded into a perfect rectangle, edges razor-straight, corners tucked military tight. I never fold it that way. Never. A cold trickle worked its way down my spine as my eyes swept the room. The coffee mug, my morning caffeine fix, sat 2 inches left of center. On the coaster I never use, the remote face down, buttons pressed into the couch cushion when I always leave it upright by the right armrest. Small things, innocent things, but wrong, all wrong. My pulse hammered in my throat as I checked the locks. Windows dot closets with methodical precision. Nothing missing, nothing broken, just rearranged. The bathroom mirror wiped clean of steam when I always leave it fogged after showers. The bedroom curtains tied back when I keep them half closed against the afternoon sun. Then the smell hit me. Not perfume, not cologne, but something faint, metallic like old coins or dried sweat on leather gloves. Under my bed, a single footprint in the dust, too large to be mine. The tread pattern unfamiliar, the police said. Probably just your imagination. Stress makes us forget things. But I know what I know. Someone stood here in my private space, touching my things, learning my habits, waiting, watching, coming back. The cameras arrived in plain brown boxes, the kind that blend in with online shopping deliveries. I positioned them carefully, where only movement would trigger them, behind the couch plants focused on the coffee table, where remotes and drinks always sat, above the fridge, angled to catch anyone, pouring from my pitcher in the hallway corner. Where shadows gathered, but lenses saw everything. The first day showed nothing, the second, empty frames. Then, day 3. At 3:17 p.m., exactly, the front door clicked open. No forced entry, no jimmying of locks, just a key turning, smooth as mine did. Mr. Harlow from apartment 4B, the quiet widower, who always waved when we passed in the hall. He stepped inside, like he'd done it 100 times, hanging his newsboy cap on my coat rack. The footage showed him moving through my kitchen, opening the fridge, pouring sweet tea into my favorite glass, the one with the chip on the rim. He settled on the couch, wriggling his toes, in my house slippers, turning on the TV to The Price is Right reruns. The volume sat at 22, my exact preferred level, for exactly 47 minutes. He sipped, laughed at commercials, scratched his elbow, existed then. At 4:04 p.m., he washed the glass, dried it with my dish towel, returned it to the cabinet. Second shelf, left side. Before leaving, he adjusted the throw pillows to their morning positions and sniffed my bathrobe, hanging on the bedroom door. The police found no signs of theft, no vandalism, just a man living half days in someone else's life, leaving nothing behind. But the scent of Old Spice and menthol cough drops on my couch cushions. The first note appeared on a Tuesday. wedged between pages 212 and 213 of my old college biology textbook, dust shaking loose when I pulled it free. Your ficus was looking parched, gave it 1.5 cups of water, just like you used to, every Thursday at 3 p.m. The handwriting was neat, almost feminine. The blue ink slightly faded on cream-colored stationery. That smelled faintly of bergamot and something medicinal. Then came others, under the salt shaker. Try Himalayan pink next time, better for your blood pressure. Inside my gym bag. These running shoes need arch support. Your knees will thank you. Each one dated time to match his visits, as if documenting some twisted domestic experiment. The police detectives, two weary men in rumpled suits, flipped through my evidence folder. Their expressions shifting from professional concern to something darker. Their radios crackled as they made calls, confirmed addresses, compared notes in hushed tones. That's when I learned Mrs. Henderson's bungalow, where he'd repotted her orchids, and left the TV on Animal Planet, the Garcia's duplex, where he'd alphabetized their spices and folded their toddlers' onesies into perfect little squares. Old Mr. Clemens's basement apartment, where he'd drunk lemonade in the recliner, watching black and white westerns, while the old man slept upstairs, all on rotation, like some neighborhood tour of other people's lives. The lead detective's pen paused when I asked the obvious question. What was he doing in the houses where no one caught him? The silence stretched, broken only by the buzzing of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of a neighbor's wind chime. The arrest made local news, a 30-second segment between weather and sports. They showed Mr. Harlow, handcuffed but calm, that same newsboy cap. Tilted slightly left, like always, the police found 13 keys on his keyring. Only 4 matched. His confession, the rest, they said, were unaccounted for. 9 unknown keys, 9 potential doors, still floating out there in the world. My locksmith changed everything. Deadbolts, window latches, even the garage padlock. But at 2:37 a.m. when the furnace kicks off and the house holds its breath, I hear it, that distinctive creak, the one my sofa makes, when weight lifts from the left cushion where he always sat. Not the settling groan of old springs, but the sharp sound of someone rising too quickly. I've measured it. 3 seconds of fabric rustle, 1 second of leather sigh, then silence. Exactly how it sounds when a person stands up. The security system shows no breaches. The cameras reveal empty rooms. Yet sometimes, the sweet tea pitcher sits slightly more forward. In the fridge, the TV remote rests at a 15-degree angle instead of parallel. Small things, maddening things. The detective reassures me, voice patient but tired, that it's just trauma. Playing tricks, but trauma doesn't. Leave the bathroom mirror streak-free when I know I left it fogged. Trauma doesn't fold the newspaper to the crossword page with a pen placed just so. And trauma certainly doesn't explain the single sip missing from my morning orange juice every 3rd Thursday, right when Mr. Harlow used to visit.